Nerd Skool is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network.
Hey, fellows. It's the first night of 11 of the season.
Nerds roll. Nerds roll.
Oh, my glasses are broken. And this will begin season 2 of Nerd Skool.
Welcome back to season 2, Nerd High. Glad to have you.
It's gonna be crazy stunts. We're gonna there's gonna be stunts.
Joe's
gonna
bring more penis jokes.
There's a lot of penis stuff.
I am a super nerd.
The Nerd Skool Podcast.
Starring Andy,
Star Spangled Band with a plan.
Maybe I'll try to do a cartwheel.
TBJ.
Welcome. Congratulations. You did dirt. Ta-da. I ain't got no shame. All my exes can tune in. We can have an episode where I compare them to all the Marvel villains. We can do that.
Art Star.
I don't love Wiener.
I'm just trying to make money.
Lord Artemis Prime rises.
Yeah, my real name is Joe. Did I ever tell you about the time I hung out with DMC at Mertz?
The Nerd Skool Podcast.
Welcome back, Nerd Hive. Our conversation continues with Avengers Age of Ultron. We pick up with Pietro and Wanda.
Wanda and Pietro created in 1964 and first appeared in X-Men #4 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, the Marvel creative
And they were
geniuses.
villains in that too, right at the beginning?
Yeah, they were in the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, as led by Magneto. However, it was not known to either one of them that they were his children until
Allegedly.
later. And then they undid that when rights reasons, and then maybe they've redone that. I don't know what their status is.
A lot of retconning.
Yeah, but this was a weird situation because both Fox and their X-Men movies and Disney and their Marvel movies had the rights to these two characters because they fell into both worlds. They were X-Men characters originally, but they were also very much Avengers characters from very early on. So the X-Men movies hadn't used Scarlett Witch, but they made a big deal. They had a really memorable Quicksilver scene when they introduced him. Which I think is what plays into the decision to focus more on Scarlet Witch in the Avengers, the MCU movies, and
they kill off Quicksilver right away.
Yeah, at the end, not right away.
Well, not right away. He has his moments. He's
right, but I mean, he's not in any of the other movies, I assume, because he's dead.
No.
Probably.
But as we saw in WandaVision, the guy who played Quicksilver in the X-Men movies showed up as Pietro in WandaVision.
Which is kind of cool,
and maybe in Multitude of Madness. They'll pull a DC and he'll be Quicksilver in some other universe, and somehow he'll get pulled into the main universe.
Because now that they've got all these universes, that can happen. But I like that she explains it as increased metabolism and improved thermal homeostasis. Her thing is neuroelectric interfacing telekinesis and mental manipulation. He's fast and she's weird. It's like, I had to write all those things down because I was like, neuroelectric interfacing, is that just stuff they made up? Like, is that my brain?
Technobabble is a thing.
Technobabble.
Basically, it sounds like mind fucking.
Yes.
Fucking. Although I think,
for lack of better words,
I feel like Steve Rogers could know what mental manipulation means.
Oh yeah. Well, but right at the beginning, I like that they've kind of established that these guys aren't your typical villain. They kind of had some empathy for them. Like, we're not at war, Captain. They are, or she says, we're not at war, Captain, but they are. And he's like, they're dealing with a war. Like, they are war torn and they're dealing with, like, Captain America right away empathizes with them.
Yeah. I like what kind of monster with it. A German scientist experiment on him to protect their country.
Yeah.
That's exactly him. He gets it, which is great because this plays into, like, when Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver first became Avengers after reforming and returning against Magneto, they were in this group of Avengers. That was a small group. It was called Cap's Kooky Quartet because that's how they talked in the 60s. It was the two of them, I think Hawkeye, and who was also a reformed criminal in the comics, and Captain America. Those were the Avengers for a little while.
The Kooky Quartet?
Yeah.
Kooky Quartet.
So it kind of makes sense.
Lame.
Well, it's the 60s.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I think, random randos on the street say, whoa, look at this in the paper. The Avengers are now Cap's Kooky Quartet or something.
Yeah.
But So that makes sense that Hawkeye has a big role in inspiring Wanda because it's all a part of that whole era with Captain America, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver being a
Spooky quartet.
Tight knit for a while.
Well, then we get to I guess Iron Man and Cho,
Helen Cho,
Dr. Cho, Helen Cho, and I wrote down that she says something about the nanomolecular functionality is.
Can I give you a little bit of nerdiness, Joe?
Yeah.
Did you look up Helen Cho?
No.
Well, Helen Cho in the comics, she has a son named Amadeus Cho, who for a time was the the amazing,
totally awesome Hulk.
Yeah, totally awesome Hulk.
What?
And he was also one of the
totally
smartest people.
Awesome Hulk? That's a different Hulk?
Yeah, he was he was sort of introduced as this sort of really smart alecky young
super nerd.
Amadeus Cho was his name?
Amadeus Cho.
So he might still show up sometime in the future as a relation to Helen Cho. But
so as opposed to the Incredible Hulk, the totally awesome Hulk?
he somehow got gammed up and became the awesome Hulk. But he was
what happened was he had like these.
Is it
he
green?
had something to do with nanites. Yeah, he would turn green, but he had like these nanites and he had like these wristlet things that allowed him to absorb gamma radiation. And we wouldn't necessarily absorb it into his body, but like he could absorb different powers and things. Okay. And like so he was like when he turned green, because he was very smart, but then also because it was like more of a controlled thing. He didn't rage when he became the Hulk. Like when he became he literally had like a, I don't want to say it's a mohawk, but like one of those frat boy cut. Yeah.
Yeah, he was just like a cool dude who happened to be a Hulk. And then eventually he figured out how to do it so he could do that without, bulking up. And he just became, his new code name was Brawn.
I didn't know there were multiple Hulks.
For a while, there was a little, there's
Thunderbolt Ross.
There's a Red Hulk. There's a She-Hulk. There's a Red She-Hulk.
I guess I knew there was She-Hulk.
There's Rick Jones.
I know there's Gray Hulk, but I thought they were all the same guy.
Gray Hulk is Bruce Banner.
There's a blue Hulk.
I think
you're thinking of a Smurf.
No. The blue Hulk was created. One of the creators. Maybe he wasn't a creator. Maybe he was an artist on the Hulk. Like his daughter came up with the concept for a blue Hulk, and he introduced the blue Hulk into the Marvel universe. Wow. I forget who the creator was.
I know that like the regular Hulk turned blue once when he went underwater and had to adapt to survive underwater, and so he turned kind of blue. And then there was Rick Jones became A-Bomb, and he was blue, but he was more of a version of the Abomination. But anyway, there's a lot of different Hulks.
Well, speaking of Helen Cho, we find out that she has a thing for Thor because they tell her about the party. She's like, I ain't got time for that.
She's like, will Thor be there?
Yeah, will Thor.
Who do you think would win, Joe? Helen Cho or TBJ?
Oh,
for the rights.
Are we fighting over? We fighting over him?
We're fighting for the
rights. Well,
I've
never seen Helen Cho fight. She just got her ass kicked, and I've seen TBJ fight. And
she me fight, or
I saw you kill a man. I saw you bite a man's nose
Don't
off.
tell my business on the podcast. I'm not in jail for a reason, Joe. Jeez, you're trying to get me arrested.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen TBJ
CIA currently listening to this. I have done not a thing. I am innocent and pure. Again, I am Snow White in the woods with birds singing and coming to me.
I swear Mark Jeffrey's disappearance has nothing to do with TBJ.
Don't listen to Joe, dear CIA agent who is tapping my phone. No thanks.
I hope there's not a real guy named Mark Jeffrey's missing.
I don't know if I get a knock on my door.
So Helen Cho loves Thor, and then Tony Banner AI discussion. Oh,
yeah, that's when
this is when they start talking about the Ultron thing.
Yeah,
Ultron's a fantasy. Doesn't have to be. What about Veronica? And they bring up Veronica here. And we don't know what they're talking about. At least I don't. You guys might already know.
Well, we didn't know until that's Veronica. It's the Hulkbuster armor.
Okay.
I took Veronica as being the whole system, not just the Hulkbuster.
Yeah, it's like the system up there. Veronica.
Union. Yeah. Right. And then he already has the Hulkbuster armor on. and he says, Veronica, give me a hand or give me an arm or something.
Give me a hand, Veronica, and it shoots him down on more arms. So I think Veronica's the whole system.
Like she's like Watchtower.
But
Overwatch.
This is when we find out Tony wants to create Ultron and not tell anybody, the other people, kind of setting up our plot. Interesting that the thing he wants to do to avoid the outcome that he fears actually causes the outcome and the peace in our time. Like it actually causes the whole problem that he's trying to avoid. He's trying to create it to prevent it, but
it also sets up, I believe, the starting dissension between him and Cat. So I got that kind of from this too.
Yeah. Which will build over time, even though like they respect each other, they kind of enjoy each other, but
it's setting up civil war. Is that
I mean, we saw that in the last Avengers movie. Like they were butting heads the whole time about like genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. Well, I know guys with none of that, worth 10 of you. And like everything special about you came out of a bottle.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we also get some like infighting in this as well.
So like there's like
just those two. Yeah.
Basic personality clashes between
those two are
Tony
the
Stark
opposite.
and
Like he's the big sexy playboy. He's all wholesome.
They're like Batman and Superman.
And Tony is jealous of like Tony wants to
me and TBJ, you know.
Yeah.
Are we the equivalent to Cap and Tony?
Hell yeah.
Well, and then it's kind of I like the whole peace in our time thing. It's sort of like peace in our time. And you can just almost hear it echoing even at this point, even though it echoes later, but it's like peace in our time.
Yeah. What does that mean to Ultron? It means shut up all humanity.
All humanity.
There will be peace.
So I had the hardest time with this.
Solution.
Just racking my brain because I feel like there's another movie recently where it's the same thing. Like somebody asks for world peace and then they take out all humans and they say, well, that's you guys are the thing that's destroying.
I think, isn't that not an animated? Did we not watch an animated film with this?
Is it a plot of something else or was this part?
No, it is. And I feel
is it one of the what ifs?
Maybe it was
what
one
ifs
of the what ifs.
Where Ultron was in it.
I feel like I just watched the whole thing about how the whole concept
maybe in my brain it was animated, so maybe it wasn't what if. I can't remember right now. I'm no good.
There must have been a what if about Ultron.
Yeah, well, there was.
Well, Ultron wasn't what if.
Because I think maybe that's why I was telling Art and Andy that I was like a lot of this seems like we already talked about a lot of this, and so maybe it was the what if about Ultron. Because I think that's where you guys had to get into Ultron early. Like we'll see this when we get in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, like I said, like this movie, for as sort of lukewarmly received as it was a springboard for shit tons of the rest of the MCU. Like so much is built off of this. I mean, this is we hear Infinity Stones.
That's right.
Episode although 8, that was Guardians as well. But
episode 8 was what if.
Yeah, but they were
Ultron
explained a little more in this one, right? Guardians, we knew they wanted them. In this movie, we knew we knew a little bit in Guardians, but this one goes into more details of what they can do and the power they could wield.
Yeah, this is where Earth finds out that the Infinity Stones are a thing.
Yeah,
and
because before
they're still not
was
sure
all
about
out in the space. Yeah. Okay, so that what if Ultron 1 was episode 8, where you guys had to explain a lot of this.
Yeah,
that's probably where I'm getting a lot of this. Like, this seems familiar, but then during the party, Ultron. Well, the party's about to start. Ultron wakes up, and the party's going on. The Excelsior drunk thing, where Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Well, Thor brings out that. Oh, I wrote it down.
1,000-year-old.
1,000-year-old stuff that was like. It was aged for 1,000 years in barrels of. Oh gosh, what was it? I wrote it down here. Here we go. Aged for 1,000 years in barrels built from the wreck of Grunhell's fleet. And so I actually Googled that. I was like, is Grunhell like a mythology thing? And it actually is not. But yeah, that was kind of fun. And then so he's like, just give us some of that. Stop trying to make us scared. And then he's like, drunk Excelsior.
Blondie.
Yeah, blonde. He calls him blonde. Yeah. And then Hulk and Natasha are flirty, like we talked about the Thor hammer bit. That's really funny where they're doing all that. Iron Man gets the arm, and he and Rhodey are both doing it.
Just represent, fool.
But I'm getting all into all of this stuff. Like anything I don't understand, I'm Googling. And Iron Man says, I'm going to be reinstituting
Prima
Nocta, which I had never heard of. But
that was like a Braveheart reference, I think. Which is a whole. It's pretty gross.
It is gross.
Yeah, it's very gross.
Like women,
very problematic.
Everyone rapes the bride on her wedding day,
and it's their right. It's their right to do it.
Yeah, so it's kind of like
even discuss it.
I know he's joking, but that doesn't seem funny. When I mean, I'm sure he was trying to.
2015, the world still hadn't quite got woke. So,
yeah. What I have,
culture wasn't.
It might be a. Is that like a direct reference to that movie, the Braveheart movie? Because I never saw Braveheart.
There's a big sequence in. Well, I mean, Braveheart. It's not that I want to hype up a Mel Gibson movie, but there's a big sequence where the King of England, who's evil, tries to bribe the English lords to do what they want by reinstituting prima nocta, and then which is like. You have sexual rights to the bride on anyone who gets married in their town or whatever. Weird. And then someone tries to get it, and then they it's all gross, and then they kill the guy.
Dudes are weird, and the laws that dudes make are even weirder.
So I like maybe he meant it as like a making fun of Thor because he's a Viking, like a worse thing.
Or like
that's what he was going for.
Like if he, like treating it like Excalibur, like if he picks this hammer up, he becomes the king. And what's the worst thing a king could do? Prima nocta.
Yeah, right.
I don't think he thought it through.
Yeah, I think it's just supposed to be a dumb.
Just an offhand joke. They can't all be winners. And
that's true.
This one,
but it was a fun bet when he and Rhodey are both. Are you even pulling? Are you even doing anything like that? That's fun.
They're trying to get together. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this is where Hill's wearing Cap's jacket. Maybe it means nothing. Ultron, and then the Ultron battle happens during all this. Like what the fuck? Then he comes up, and it's instant craziness and glass shattering, and they're all jumping behind bars and trying to fight the guy, and he's just one little thing. And
so
half of them might be drunk,
and they're drunk. Yeah,
right.
And we find this is the only path.
Well, Cap is
this is the first time I've watched this movie where when we first have the introduction of Ultron, just listening to him talk, and I tweeted about this at ArtStar version 9. But I watched The Blacklist, and in The Blacklist, James Spader is this guy named Raymond Reddington, and he's like one on FBI's blacklist. He's like one of the top blacklisters. But basically, what he does is he helps the FBI capture blacklisters, but he does things a la Ultron. It's like everything he does, he helps them out to get this one thing. Because later on, he wants to use the person that he kind of helped him capture, but then also escape for his own good. Sort of like how, and I'm jumping, but sort of like how Ultron doesn't kill Helen Choi. He saves her for later, like a cat playing with a mouse, because he wants to use her for whatever.
Yeah.
But every time I'm listening to Ultron, all I'm hearing is Raymond Reddington now. I'm watching Raymond Reddington as Ultron.
Well, James Spader is renowned, has a renowned creepy voice.
Yeah.
And that's I think why they chose him to do this. And I was excited about it. Like the first trailer that came out about this was this sort of, this is not really a
Pinocchio
sequence. There are no strings on me. That's not, that bit is not actually in the film the way they put it in the trailer. But the line is, but it's delivered differently. But when that first trailer came out, and the first time I saw Ultron on screen, I was like, "Oh, they're gonna knock this out."
Right.
But
what that noise,
Ultron, because Ultron is fucking scary. When you take him seriously,
nerd boner alert.
If you watch Earth's Mightiest Heroes, that's the version of Ultron that's sort of like this emotionless, monotone robot that you cannot stop and is determined to destroy humanity.
He sounds like Sean Connery.
No. That would be.
Now I want to work
there
about
are no strings on me. No,
it's Lord.
Not a fan of the lady.
It's Sean Connery with Ultron.
That'd be a whole other thing. That'd be way off the mark. But it's the emotionless. He's got no mouth. That's the thing we've all agreed on. I think at least me, Joe, and Art.
Yeah. The mouth looks stupid that it's moving. Why does he have lips? Robots don't need lips.
That's what I never liked about. That's why I liked
Well,
Optimus
when I
Prime
was
best,
looking
one of
at
the
it,
Transformers.
and I noticed that like once he kind of like starts evolving, like that one part where he says like, "Oh, you bulked up a little bit."
Yeah,
it's like his body, it was still moving. It was moving. It had like robotic movement to it, but it was also like you could see where it was more. It was trying to emulate flesh in certain parts, other than like just his mouth. But you still knew that he was,
and he's trying to. Like, that's another thing about Ultron's character that is it's like a hook for Ultron is that he thinks humanity needs to be wiped out.
Yeah.
But he's built on like the brain pattern. He's like part Tony Stark. In the comics. Right. He's built on the brain patterns of Hank Pym. So there are human elements to his psyche. Like immediately he like has a psychotic hatred of his father and is fascinated with his father.
Even in this, just when he's talking, certain moments when he'll say certain things, he's like, "No, please don't." Like he's very person. I don't want to say, he's personable, even though he's evil. He gives personable responses.
Like there are emotions to him, and like in the comics, he's always kind of obsessed with his family. Like Hank Pym is his father; he's angry at it. Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, is his mother, and he's weirdly drawn to her. And then he tries to build himself a son in
Sounds like a two-parter, guys.
And then he builds himself a wife named Jocasta, which is the thing I was going to say.
Yeah.
One of the later alternate programs after Jarvis gets fried that Tony Stark uploads, one of them is labeled Jocasta. And
her action figure looks literally, like eerily almost a lot like this Ultron, except she has like this metal wig thing.
Yeah, it's like she's got like a metal sculpted wig head. But like there's the one big storyline I remember reading where he's talking about his extended family, which is the Vision, it's his son, married to the Scarlet Witch. So Scarlet Witch was his daughter-in-law. And then the fact that Vision's brain patterns were based on Wonder Man. Wonder Man was a cousin or something. Like he had like this big brood of people that like, you are my extended family and you will bear witness.
Which is what we thought
triumph.
might show up in one. We thought he might show up in WandaVision.
Yeah, Wonder Man.
Yep.
He might. I don't know what they're gonna do with that guy, but because he's such a weird, douchey kind of character. He's just like an Avenger with amazing superpowers who he doesn't really like to be Avenger. He wants to be a movie star. But that's the thing. It's just like the fact that Ultron has emotions, and that's played up more here. He's scarier when he's like kind of emotionless, but he's always got he's got like some brain hooks in humanity that he's trying to evolve past.
Well, I like that they had his voice established as the peacekeeping robots already. So it was already that voice, that already was a thing that went haywire.
Right. And he sees right away the futility of Tony Stark's plan by being just that drone. He's one of the Iron Legion guys. Please back away. This is not safe. And then everyone's throwing shit at him. And so that's, I think, a basis of, I don't think the Avengers are going to work. So we have to wipe them all out. The Avengers extinction is a big thing. And like, he's trying to evolve past his own mechanical roots. Like the Vision is the thing he's trying to evolve into. He's going to become the Vision. That's more bioorganic.
So just to slow it, the whole plot down now for the dumb guy.
You're dumb. You're a dumb asshole. Wait, what?
Which we kind of glossed over. The whole Tony was gonna he wanted to create the Ultron, so he was kind of like, before we take the scepter, and they were going to do something else with it, right? Thor was going to take it off to another planet, or they were going to go put it in protection.
Yeah.
But he said, before we do that, just give me 3 days with it so I can make this Ultron thing.
I think if they wanted to just analyze it and see what the fuck it is, and then realize there's an AI in there, and then or like something that looks like an AI,
something they can create Ultron with, and that's when he's like, just give me 3 days and I can do this.
And his plan with Ultron is to have them be the people the Ultron protects,
the police,
Earth
the peacekeepers,
from the Chitauri, from the space aliens that traumatized him, and he's still dealing with PTSD, as we saw in Iron Man 3.
Very much.
Which is why
very
he
much
wants to
about
do this.
that.
He's scared about all these aliens are going to come back, and we can't stop it. This is our only way to stop it. These guys will be patrolling. So let's do this. because they found the scepter has this power that they got in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, I feel like I kind of glossed over that earlier, and I want to make sure to kind of get
So whatever
back
the brain they got that was the basis of Ultron came out of the Mind Stone, the Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
So Ultron is partially birthed from the Infinity Stone.
Yeah. So that was in the scepter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all this happens because he was trying to make this thing, and that got loose. It went on its own. It's got more power than they understand, and that's all. You don't understand this, and that's when they had and that's when we found out Ultron. At this point in the party, when it's working, we find out that Ultron's goal is Avenger extinction.
Destroy everyone.
Only path to peace is Avengers extinction. And then the Avengers have the argument with Tony about, why did you do this? You did this without us. And they're like grabbing him by the throat. Thor's grabbing him, and then now we have our next plot. We know this is what's got to be stopped now. Wanda and Pietro show up to the church, or Ultron shows up to the church. I'm not sure. They show up to the church.
Ultron beckons, basically calls for them, finds a way to get a message to them.
He summons them.
And they don't know who they're going to see.
And I wrote this is when he says the monologue that I wanted to kind of dissect this, so I never have, but thought maybe we could talk about it. How he says everyone creates the thing they dread. Men of peace create engines of war. People create smaller people. Children. I lost the word there. Children designed to supplant them, to help them end. And I thought that's like a profound thing, thinking about like you only have children to help you die.
I mean,
in a way,
simplifies it.
Where's the line?
People expect their kids to take care of them when they're old.
Yep.
Yeah.
You raise them so they help you through the last few years of your life.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in school,
but you do.
I did this project in this seminar class, and we had to write a paper to whatever we created or whatever. And I basically, I was kind of super cynical back then.
but just back then, were you super cynical just back then?
But I said that basically said, humans are here for three things. We're born, we procreate, and we die. Like it was like that was me breaking down the human experience in basically three stages.
You left out pro wrestling.
We stage elaborate spectacles where we pretend to fight in our underpants, and then we die.
And then we die.
Right.
Well, I was trying to think.
Well, I like this bit. It just the whole bit where somehow just spacing on the word children is weird.
Right.
You don't expect a robot to do that. So this kind of implies that he's not altogether there. He's not, it's as ruthless as he seems, as smart as he seems, as much as he's developing, he's unhinged. And
I feel like
anyone forgets it. Yeah, anyone forgets a word, but him doing it is really weird.
Well, I feel like that specific word is intentional. Like if he has trouble remembering what children even are, he's going to have no regard to kill them all,
Right.
Like,
but at the same time, the comic version of Ultron was weirdly obsessed with family. That was
really?
Like,
that's right. You said that in the last thing, I think.
Yeah. Like he was always obsessed with, his father and his perceived mother, he was also weirdly,
and then you have that moment where Tony calls him Junior, and he gets really upset about that.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Like, and he also created his own. Like, he was going to create his son, the Vision, Jocasta, his daughter, sort of thing. And there's another character named Alchema that he created as kind of like he keeps trying to like make a companion for himself. Like he needs connection. Oh. He needs a weird connection, but he's resentful of it as well.
TBJ feels remorse. She
I
feels bad for
do. He's like, I want love. I hate you all. I want love. I hate you all. That's a conflicted space to be in.
Yeah,
like family.
There's the bit later, like after he's captured Natasha, and he just wants to talk to somebody. It's like,
yeah,
have anybody else. It's just he needs.
Well,
he needs a connection, and he resents the need for a connection. So he's messed up.
Yep.
Jarvis gets a lot of attention. He gets to talk to everybody. Rhodey and Tony.
Well, Jarvis is
friendlier
man. So it's his co-pilot. It's Tony's co-pilot.
I gotta say I love James Spader for this because I like it so much that I started last night watching The Blacklist.
Oh yeah, you're gonna love it.
Oh my
you're gonna
god,
love The Blacklist.
He's so great. I'm just
you're gonna love it until season 7.
What I've been
tell him when he's gonna not love it.
I don't know if I'll get to season 7. Maybe I will, but it's good so far. I mean, I like him so far, but I feel like I watched the first episode before.
I've been waiting for.
Hey Andy, welcome to my world.
Oh, trying to say something.
You're trying to talk. We all cut you off. We take turns cutting you off.
Can I just say this? Boston Legal is the show I watched James Spader on.
I loved him on that with Captain Kirk.
I'm still slightly annoyed that the internet hasn't done a lot of mashups where Ultron is delivering Alan Shore closing monologues. But
now you're giving people the idea to do it.
Please, I expected that from the get-go. It's like, I can't wait to see Ultron delivering a blistering speech about gun control.
Wasn't he also the bad guy in Mannequin?
Yeah, I think so. And also he was the bad guy in Wolf. The Jack Nicholson turns into a werewolf movie.
What's the movie where people crash their cars and have sex while they're crashed and injured?
It's called Crash.
Crash. Isn't he in that too?
So wait, let's rewind to your description of the movie where people crash and have sex. Is that what you just
they have sex while they're injured from car crashes.
It's David Cronenberg's Crash.
It's a little nuanced, but
like one woman's got her leg pinned under the car and she wants to have sex while she's pinned under her legs pinned.
Is that her motivation?
Yeah.
That's that was
Spader's in that. I think he has sex with a woman while her legs under her car.
And is that like Holly Hunter or somebody?
It's a lot. It had like a bunch of Hollywood stars in.
I didn't care for it. No, there's two
Sandra
Crash
Bullock's
movies
in there, right?
Yeah, the other Crash won Best Picture, and everyone thinks it shouldn't have.
Yeah, so there's two Crash movies. There's one where
there are two Crash movies.
Yeah, one where people have sex after car crashes, and the other one that's just a movie about people.
People in like racism and
that one.
Oh, that's like everybody's connected in a different way, and
like Sandra Bullock and
that's the one I know because Don Cheadle's in that one. Fun fact: Don Cheadle and Terrence Howard, the two rivals of Iron Man's affection.
Oh, I think that movie was actually good. The other one is about people having sex as car crashes.
I had not heard of that one. That's why I was so
the gross one.
The sex and the I was like.
It's really a gross, weird movie.
It's gross and weird because David Cronenberg trucks in gross stuff. Like the one thing I've seen of his is a movie called Existenz, where it's all based on this weird new video game console, but the thing is like organic and it's like this weird pulsating, fleshy blob thing that you plug into your spine. He's into weird, like gross out stuff. Whereas
who doesn't love a Cronenberg conspiracy?
They did that's the whole Rick and Morty Cronenberg episode is where everyone turns into these weird gross flesh monsters. Oh no, we Cronenberg this entire universe, Morty. We have to leave.
You sound just like him.
Yeah. That's the first time I've tried to do a Rick Sanchez impression.
But, you should do it more often. You sound just like him.
And now this is why Joe will be like, oh geez, Rick.
Oh geez, Rick.
Oh Lord.
Come on, Rick.
All right.
So we get more. So at this point, we get more Maximoff sympathy. They get a little more of their backstory of, how their family was murdered, and we get a little bit more.
And they were waiting for Stark to kill them,
and Stark's dark history comes back. Yeah, like it's one of the running jokes of the MCU is that pretty much every villain is just someone Tony Stark is pissed off.
It's not wrong. So
no, but like which is. It's like Mysterio later, like he's he's got problems with Tony.
Well,
Like
it's also it's like Stark. You have Stark. You have Roxxon, Alchemax. A lot of these big conglomerates are funding all types of weapons of destruction.
Mhm.
So it's you have the philanthropy. I'm doing this circle thing like people can see it, like misogynistic male who's controlling, who's has his hands, not necessarily his hands directly in something, but his company or company that he runs is directly involved with causing some sort of destruction on some minute level that fucking affects everyone.
Yeah, like the repercussions are endless for someone who made his fortune in weapons trading and arms dealing. And
makes sense.
Like you don't think of the ripples like, oh, I created a bomb. Bombs terrorize people, especially these two enhanced children who sat for like in terror for 3 days, afraid to move because a bomb that had Stark's name on it is about to explode.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't, and that's the only reason they live is because it was a dud. But one of the things I liked about this whole speech here, like Ultron in the church, I like this, the geometry of belief, whatever that means. But I like Ultron is obsessed with religion throughout this whole movie, which I think is kind of a new stripe for him. He's always talking about ask Noah about the disaster at the end of the world stuff. When the world starts to settle, God throws a stone at it. It's all sorts of these religious things and it's kind of interesting. Like it's a way to sort of get that weirdness about that conflict about Ultron, where he's obsessed with the destruction of humanity because they're awful, but he's in love with their myths and the things they've created. And it's really he's a weird, compelling sort of bunch of conflicts. And and it took a while. Like at first, like the first viewing, I remember seeing this in the theater. It's like, I don't know how I felt. And then like I had to watch it a few times because I like robots and I wanted to like Ultron a lot. So once I was able to switch gears and get with this version of Ultron, I was like, all right, I like it. I like watching him work, except for his mouth.
So he was accidentally created by mixing Tony Stark's AI programs, computers, with
the Mind Stone.
The Mind Stone, which is
something they didn't understand, and they didn't even put it together. Where it's
not too far from, like Vice Versa, that movie, like where
Fred Savage and Judge Reinhold switch places.
Yes, like or that technology of people switching bodies, like they can make AI. They can make this. The Mind Stone could do that. It could make what's the one with Judd?
Isn't that's big, right?
No,
there was like 3 movies where people switch bodies in that same time period. Vice Versa,
like Freaky Friday. There was one.
There's one.
What about 17 again?
Kirk Cameron and Judd Hirsch or something.
George Burns. 17 again. I think it was George Burns gets into Kirk Cameron's body or something.
No, Kirk Cameron is with Judd Hirsch or Judd Nelson.
No, you're thinking
Judd Hirsch and Judd Nelson.
Judge Reinhold and Fred Savage.
No, Dudley Moore. Dudley Moore and Kirk Cameron.
Oh, right.
Those guys are such.
They switched bodies, and then there was a girl one with 2 ladies that I just.
He just named that one.
No, there's one that's not Freaky Friday. There was another one. 13 again. 13 going on 30.
Switching places.
13 going on 30. That's like Gwyneth
Jennifer
Paltrow
Garner.
And Jennifer Garner switch bodies.
No,
she reverted back. Yeah.
Dakota Fanning switches bodies with Ernest Goes to Jail.
Really? Is that your next pitch?
Oh, then there's also the one with
Ernest.
What's her name? Issa Rae and not Issa Rae.
Yeah, no.
Issa Rae's in it, but
she is in
what's
it.
her name?
Regina Hall.
Regina
Marseille.
King.
Yeah, Marseille.
No,
yeah.
Hall. Regina Hall, the comedian, and say from Blackish have a movie current day within the last 5 years.
And they switch their bodies?
Yeah.
Brain switch?
Black. Exactly. Well, she kind of goes back.
I think from now on, all movies should have 2 people switching bodies.
Oh, you might be thinking of a Switch with Ellen Barkin and I think like Dermot
Yeah, I named
Mulrooney
that
or
earlier.
something.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That's all right. I didn't hear you, Art. I was too busy yelling about Fred Savage, Judge Reinhold.
That's all you cared about. Andy.
Anyway, Strucker's dead. We find out Strucker's dead with the Banksy. Somebody did a Banksy, and we find that out. And then Barton says the girlfriend thing. Like, who are you on the phone with? Oh, that's my girlfriend.
Yeah, he's keeping a secret.
But earlier he was like, I don't have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we caught that.
But
so yeah, he was just making
that. That's just showing that it's the secret thing.
Yeah,
so we don't find out about
life.
Mockingbird yet.
He keeps his life separate because security.
You never know when you got to get out.
Now we meet.
Disappear.
Oh, this is where they work together to figure out who Ulysses Claw is.
Yeah, they do all they look into old boxes of papers and stuff that Ultron can't get to because it controls
all
the
of
internet.
Shield stuff's been deleted. Oh, not all of it. Not these bankers boxes.
There you go.
Yep.
Get all those out.
And I like the idea of he knows who Claw is because he's an arms dealer, and there are conventions, you meet people.
Yeah.
I like that Bruce Banner doesn't know what Wakanda is.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm going to ask you. Is this our first Wakanda mention in the MCU?
Yeah.
It's real confusing since we've delved into everything with what ifs and everything else. That I was kind of like, shit, is this the first time? It's got to be the first time because he didn't know how to say it.
And I like that it implies that not like Wakanda is not well known. I mean,
as is not supposed to be. Yeah.
So
because that's what on purpose.
Do you guys remember back? Did you already know at this point that Black Panther was going to be done, or was this nerds first like they might do Black Panther, or did everybody already know? Like, was there already the news? Do you remember?
I don't remember what was announced and what wasn't, but it made sense that they were going if they were going to bring in Wakanda, if they mentioned Wakanda.
Yeah,
they're going to bring
it in.
Black Panther's going to show up eventually.
I remember you, Andy. I just remember you, like when you first found out, you were like, they are going to bring that guy. And I remember you telling me because I didn't even know who he was, but I had a Black Panther action figure, and you're like, that cool action figure you have that looks cool. They're going to have that guy. Like he's going to be in the. And I was like, oh, sweet. I didn't know who he was or anything except that he looked cool, but I remember you being excited that they're going to try to make that in the MCU.
Yeah. I was a Black Panther fan. I've said this before, but starting around like the late 90s when Christopher Priest started writing those comics, like they relaunched the Marvel Knights imprint where they tried to bring up some like top flight creators onto a handful of the characters that haven't really hit. Like everything was Daredevil, Black Panther, Punisher, like the darker characters. They were kind of taking them like a sort of high-minded take on a lot of these, and that was the first appearance of the Dora Milaje and all those a lot of the concepts that wound up in the Black Panther films.
You throw a lot of terms out here that I'm having trouble. Back up a little bit to the Knights. What were the Knights? The what?
There was a thing
Marvel
in the late 90s where they brought in they did it like a sort of a mini imprint of like the Marvel Knights, they called it, which was not the Avengers, it wasn't the X-Men, it was someone like these
guys that aren't super as popular.
Yeah, like
when you
at
say
the time
imprint,
they were sort of,
is that like what are you talking about?
It's kind of like
dumb it down for the.
It's like putting a logo to something that like let's say
it's like a project.
Like for instance, like Nerd School is basically an imprint of History for Jerks.
Okay.
Kind of like so Marvel, there's Marvel Comics. They have their X-Men world.
So it wasn't a comic,
and this was like Marvel, but it was like
it was a comic.
It was a series of comics under an umbrella of a specific group of creators.
There you go.
Okay. They call that's called an imprint.
Max.
Yeah. So it's just like a series.
DC does their Black Label.
Yeah, DC Comics has an imprint called Vertigo, which deals with more adult comics.
Oh,
like
so
adult
it's like
oriented.
A series of series.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Kind of. It's sort of like a house within the house, like the department, the Marvel Knights department.
Like a
section. You guys control these characters.
Subsection.
Yeah. Like
Jesus, who thought this would be so goddamn hard to understand?
Yeah.
Making everything an imprint.
But anyway,
so it's not a physical imprint of something. They didn't like take.
Well, there's the Marvel Knights logo in the corner of the comics, but other than that, it was like, here's the idea. We're going to take some of these characters that haven't really been popular in a while, like particularly popular. We're going to bring in some really interesting creators specifically to try to work on these properties and give them free reign to do what they kind of want to do. And we with less editorial interference. We have like one editor in charge of this imprint.
Okay.
And they will
so Wakanda is the home, the birth, or the place where vibranium is made, right? Like it's the birthplace of vibranium.
Yeah.
Is that is that
a natural
true?
resource?
Is that true in the comics as well? Or
Yeah,
is
it's the whole thing, which you'll get in the Black Panther film, is a giant outer space meteor landed in Wakanda millions of years ago. That's vibranium. Wakanda is basically the only place in the world where you can get it. In the comics, there are a few different strains of vibranium. There's like Antarctic vibranium that does a different sort of thing. Like it melts metal that when it comes in contact with it, but we haven't heard that in the MCU at all yet.
All I know that vibranium does is its Cap shield is made out of it, right?
Yeah. Although initially it used to be a vibranium adamantium alloy in the comics, but now let's just make it simple. It's vibranium.
Wait a minute. So we
honestly
Tony Stark, Howard Stark made Cap's shield in the 40s, or was but that wasn't vibranium, or was that vibranium?
That was vibranium. That is vibranium.
So Howard Stark got it from Wakanda back then.
Somehow. We don't know exactly
we don't
how.
know. That
I don't think it's ever been explained.
Oh, it hasn't? Like even now?
Not how he got it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think we know how Howard Stark got it. Maybe Agent Carter had some mention of it, but I don't recall.
So maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but Black Panther is
let's rewind because we're down.
I know, but let me just ask this one question. Black Panther is a title, right? Not a there's other Black. It's not just.
Yeah, it's been a mantle handed down since
for generations.
Been Black.
So there could have been
Black Panther.
There was an older Black Panther back then.
His father, in the comics, especially in the Marvel Knights Black Panther comics, they tell a story of Captain America in the 40s on some mission where he encounters T'Chaka, who was Black Panther's father.
Cool.
When he was a very young man, and then they sort of have like T'Chaka tests him on his colonial intentions, and Captain America kind of cops to the fact that you have no reason to trust me, and I understand that, and that sort of earns his respect. And that's where he gets an earlier version of his shield, like the triangle one that he had in the 40s.
Oh, the Captain America weird looking. Right. Okay, all right. So that's all. We'll back up, and we won't go that far into
that. Might not even.
So go back to your dealer. Yep.
Oh,
we went down a path.
Go back to the claw.
But it's interesting that both Steve Rogers and Tony Stark know where vibranium comes from and know what Wakanda is. So that kind of implies that at some point Captain America could have had that story.
I didn't catch that. Steve knew what it was, but Hulk didn't.
Nope. Yeah. It's not
Banner,
well known.
No. Banner didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not supposed to
say
know.
It right. Yeah. He didn't say it right. Yeah. So, but
Banner's strength is not geography.
No.
Right. Right.
He's got 8 doctorates, none of them in geography.
And so we cut to this Claw guy, right? But we see the origin of him probably being called Claw, right? Because he gets his arm cut off, except that's his name.
Yeah, but it's weird that they spelled it like that. In the comics, it's just KLAW, but for the movie, for some reason, they made it KLAUE.
Yeah, that's right.
I guess to make it seem more like a real person's name.
Unique. Who knows?
So I notice on his desk, he's got a candy dish, and they show a picture of a woman. Is that significant at all? Does Claw have a wife that gets involved later? Or is that just props?
It's probably just props. I don't remember much about it.
I'm watching for stuff now. Art's got me watching for stuff.
No, like in Black Panther, no. His backstory really doesn't come into play.
Claw's doesn't?
No.
Well, Claw was originally in comics, he was the guy who killed T'Challa's father, T'Chaka, by trying to steal vibranium from Wakanda.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wakanda guards its vibranium viciously because it's the only place for it. It's the basis of their society. It's why they're so technologically advanced compared to the rest of the world. And they realize the danger of this substance getting out into the general populace. But Claw was colonizer extreme, and he
was up to no good.
Basically slaughtered a lot of Wakandans, including T'Chaka.
Claw did.
Yeah, because he created this device, this sonic blaster thing using the vibranium to enhance its effects, slaughtered everybody and made T'Challa the king when he was like 8 or 10.
Okay.
Like killed him when he was a
And
kid.
that Sonic thing was part of his hand, right? Like
it wasn't then.
it wasn't.
But later something happened and that kind of turned Claw into like living sound. And his actual comic outfit, he's got the big like radar dish hand.
Yeah, I remember seeing him.
Yeah, one of the Avengers television cartoon series has like a little run where they did things with Claw and the Black Panther. I want to say maybe a couple of years ago. I don't think it was the Avengers Assemble.
Claw, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. First appearance, Fantastic Four number 53, 1966.
Oh, there you go.
I love how you came in with the radio voice.
Right, Andy was holding his ear.
Fun fact, audience, that's what it sounded like. It was very professional, Andy.
I used to be a professional radio guy.
I know, and I love it. I love when you bring it to it. I'm gonna rewind this back because we're on a time limit and we've gone down Panther territory.
We're going down a rabbit hole.
Back in the thing. Yeah. So we're in that scene where they're, they show up where we see Claw on the candy dish, and then the Avengers show up, and there's that little joke about nobody has to break anything, and the omelet joke. Oh, clearly you've never made an omelet. He beat me by 1 second on the joke.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
and you see that being compared to Tony Stark really sets him off. He hates Tony Stark, his own creator.
Yeah.
Because I guess he's kind of using Tony Stark as the baseline of why humanity needs to be wiped out.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned here, I took note of the fact that they did a lot of that slow motion fighting stuff, especially with Pietro. Yeah. Like the bullet goes real slow, and he rips through everything to enhance. They show how enhanced he is and how fast he is. That stuff was really cool.
And that the time he runs by and punches Captain America in the face, I'm like, how does that not break his entire face?
Right.
Yeah. At the same time, later when he's going really fast, punching robots and breaking them apart, I'm like, he's just punching them with his bare fist. He's not strong. He's just fast.
But it's just like it's like watching Flash. Like a lot of times I watch Flash, and I'm like, he's sitting, but it's like the fact that like his momentum is adding more PSI, as they say on Craig of the Creek.
But like
PSI power behind it.
If you're going 90 miles an hour on the highway and you punch a stop sign, your hand's gonna fly off.
Well, I guess that's part of the enhancement is that he
can do that.
His metabolism is
he's strong enough to not be damaged by his own stunts. I guess.
Well, at this point, Banner says, "Is this a code green?" Like, he's asking everybody. I'm not sure.
This is our first hint of like the depth of Wanda's powers. Like she can just mind warp everybody and put them into these weird visions.
That's funny. My next line that I wrote was everybody in a Wanda dream.
Yeah,
pretty much everybody. And so you see what everybody's weakness is, and everybody's like, it's weird seeing like Black Widow in her childhood trauma, and then you see, I don't know, Hulk, you don't really see his, but he goes nuts. But
Steve Rogers trying to imagine a life where he gets to
going back and dancing.
Go home and then it's empty. Like there's nothing there. Like he can't, like Ultron said, Captain America, like you could survive without a war. And then that's his thing. He's like, if I don't have a war,
what am I doing?
If the war is over, what's here?
Mm-hmm. Thor is in the dancing world.
Thor is knows he's expected to be he's expected to be king, and Heimdall tells him he's a shitty king, and he ruins everything and gets them all killed. That's his dream.
So that's what that was. Because then he was like, I saw something in that dream, I gotta leave. That's what
but there was a whole lot of other imagery in there, which is interesting. It's like the first time you see the Infinity Stones, like there's a flash, and then you can see these eyes open that look a lot like Vision's. Somehow he gets a vision before the vision has been created.
Because when he comes, later, spoiler alert, when he comes back, he helps make Vision. Yeah, okay.
He's a little more magical.
Yeah, his was more magical. Who else was in a dream? Anybody else having a fever dream?
Hawkeye was mind controlled in the first movie, so they made a point to not mind control him.
Yeah,
I don't care.
He was like, not doing this again. Nope.
Yeah. And Pietro. And there's this playful, I think this is where they established a playful little competition between Barton and Pietro, like fucking with each other.
You
like,
don't see that coming? Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't see that. Yeah. And then they're calling in Veronica from space. They decided to call in Veronica.
Yeah.
Because Wanda makes Hulk go nuts and they can't stop him. Like, oh fuck, nobody can stop him. So they gotta call in Veronica.
Hey nerds, that's all the time we have for now. Join us next time as we talk more about how much Andy loves Ultron, and possibly, we finally get TBJ to say Excelsior. Nerd Hive out.
Incarceration of my kinsmen by the prisons and people thinking this election to end in racism. Proud over pessimism, glad to see Obama, but don't expect me not to speak out when I still see problems.
The Nerd School Podcast.
QueenCityPodcastNetwork.com.
Listen, people can make fun of me for my holiday movies all we want to, but I'm like, are you alive? Did I fuss at you today? Did I yell about anything? All right, then. You're welcome. You better thank Hallmark for keeping me safe.